Hi, I'm Monica Packer from About Progress, and this is a growth spurt, a bite-sized way you can increase your progress today. This is our 700th episode. The truth is I actually don't know. It may be our 720th, but according to our records, it's our 700th, and so I thought it would be a really timely episode to share with you on our 700th episode, in quotes, 7 life lessons I have learned in producing 700 episodes. You don't have to start a podcast to learn these same lessons, but I hope in sharing about these lessons and how they apply to my work with the podcast will be just as applicable to what you are going through in your life. The first life lesson I want to share with you is the more you know you do not know. You may have heard that we are starting new Saturday episodes, very short episodes, where we're going back into our archive and pulling up some of the things you may have not heard since we've now been doing this almost 9 years. And when I was listening back to the very first one that I aired a couple weeks ago with Meg Miles, that was the third interview I think I recorded, and before I actually officially started the podcast. And I was listening to that and it felt almost painful with just how poor of an interviewer I was, how insecure and worried I was, and my voice was a lot different too. That has changed a ton over the last 9 years. But then I also remembered being like 20 episodes in to the podcast and thinking I was doing really well and that I was basically a professional now. Fast forward 9 years, and now while I can acknowledge I am infinitely better skill-wise, I truly know that I have a ways to go. And I'm not just talking about growth, I'm also talking about skills and things I can learn and things I can try. So I'm in this space now, 700 episodes in, where I know that there's a lot I don't know. And weirdly, I think that's the way it should be. I hope any expert in any field, the more that they learn, the more that they know that they have to learn. And that has definitely been true for me. The second life lesson I want to share with you is the vital importance of separating your identity from the outcomes. You've heard me talk about this in so many facets with personal development, from habits to your do set thing list. Placing your identity, meaning who you are, on the outcomes is a recipe for a lack of a strong sense of self. It's a recipe for failing pretty quick. It's a recipe for hustling and burnout. And that's been true for me too. When I think of a time where I've placed my identity on my outcomes, I think about the first time that my podcast numbers suddenly got cut in half. My podcast was doing pretty well, like 2 years in, I would say. And then out of nowhere, I had half the downloads I had before. And for a full year, I blamed myself. I thought, what is wrong with me? Why don't people like me anymore? What did I do so wrong that made them all disappear? And after a year of that, my dear friend Rachel Nielsen from the 3 and 30 Takeaways for Moms podcast called me up on the phone because she'd just been on a conversation with the same podcast host that we shared, finding out that at the exact same time my numbers got cut in half, our podcast host, Libsyn at the time, had changed the way they were counting metrics. So it had nothing to do with me. In fact, my numbers were probably that half number anyway. That has happened 2 more times since then, where all of a sudden they change the way they're doing the metrics and the numbers get cut in half. That happened in late 2023, and we are still recovering. 2024, you probably heard, was a really bad year for the podcast industry because of how Apple changed the way that they are presenting podcasts and downloading them and counting the metrics. So I have learned by now that I cannot place my worth on the numbers or how things are received or how I grow or who says yes. I get a ton of rejections. I get a lot of people who say yes and then ghost me. I get people who act really pleased to be on the show and then never share it. I have people leave bad reviews. I'm going to share more on that in a minute. But in doing this work, I've really had to learn to separate my identity from the outcomes. I shared about the bad outcomes, but I've also had to learn how to do that with the good ones. A little behind the scenes is when you're in the field I am in and you are interviewing people who are a lot bigger than you and doing really big, amazing things, you get a peek into what it looks like to get to that point. And there are people who are just real and humble and down to earth and non-fussy. And there are people who, in some ways rightfully, but in other ways too far, take themselves really seriously. Their good outcomes have really defined the way they see themselves. And they can interact with you in a way where you're like, I'm clearly getting the message. I get it. Like, who am I? I know. But we're here together. Let's meet. Let's talk. Let's get a good episode out of this. So I have learned, especially the last few months, I would say that there are people that I want to emulate who, regardless of their success, they're just them. And regardless of their failures, they're just them. And so that's something I want to continuously be aware of, to not place my identity on my bad outcomes just as much as my good outcomes. The third life lesson is to savor the good times. This means you have to even be aware of them. This really is almost a practice of gratitude. On episode 11 or 12, 13, somewhere around there, I did my first interview with Dr. Jennifer Finlayson-Fife. And I immediately got like 45,000 downloads, which was a ton for me as a podcaster that I think I was getting in the 300 to 500s each episode. Again, 11 to 13 episodes in. I just didn't know. I didn't know what a good moment that was. And I just rode that wave, and I was, of course, excited about it, but I didn't savor as much because I just expected it to now keep growing from there. I would kill for those numbers per episodes right now. But I've had many instances of that, of kind of skipping over, oh, I got that guest, or that interview went super, super well, or I got 10 new reviews, which hasn't happened for a while. So in order for me to even savor the good times, I have to be more aware of them and the practice of noticing them and validating them and leaning into them. And that is honestly hard. It's easy to skip over the good moments because you're just always thinking about that gap of where you want to be and where you need to go, or the next thing that needs to be done. So that's something I've been really trying to pay attention to more. So when I had a really good interview with like Sharon McMahon earlier this year, or my magical interview with Catherine May, I tried to let those sink in. Right now, I'm in the process of getting some good news about my book venture, and I'm trying to, instead of be afraid of what's next or have imposter syndrome, I am trying to savor the good moments. The fourth life lesson is it's always day one. As I've said, in 9 years, I have improved a lot. I've also learned what I don't know. But as part of all of that, each day is an opportunity to start again. Each day is an opportunity to learn something, to try again if you have a really bad day or a really bad guest or an episode or a bad review. Every day is a new day to learn a new skill, to tweak the way you do things, to change your format, to evolve. And that's been true for me in countless ways. I think most top of mind right now is 2024. We really started to lean into ensuring we had video content. And you may not know this if you have been a podcast listener for a long time. You're like, podcasts are, you listen to them. But podcasts are getting bigger and bigger with the video format, especially on YouTube. And we're still quite small there. But I had to roll up my shirt sleeves, and instead of being like, this is so dumb, why do things change all the time? Like, podcasts are for listening. I've had to learn new skills on how to be on video, how to edit video, how to upload videos. And now my team helps me a lot with that too. But it's just something that I've had to learn over and over with podcasting. You either evolve or you die. You can despair or you can decide it's always day one. And every single day is an opportunity to learn something new, to try again, to tweak, to evolve. One of the biggest sources of stress in relationships is finances. While Brad and I are both frugal people, him even more so than me, we have a fairly large family with big appetites and lots of special needs, with sports and music and college to pay and save for. It's a lot, and it's weighed on both of us. This is why meeting with our financial planner, Elizabeth from Fearless Finance, has been a total stress saver. Thanks to her sound, fair, and non-judgmental advice, we now know better where to put our money, how to save, and ways we can do better to increase our financial security. Our financial stress has stabilized thanks to Elizabeth's expert knowledge and working through the checklist she recommended. Next up, we are meeting with her to talk through estate planning. Fearless Finance is a convenient way to get financial advice without all the headaches, high fees, and commitments that come from traditional financial advisors. You meet with your planner and pay for the time down to the quarter hour. No commissions, no sales, and no requirements on how much is already in your bank account. Whether you're looking to pay off student loans, buy a house, or just want to make sure your finances are okay, Fearless Finance can answer your questions. No question is too small. No problem is too big. Fearless Finance can answer your questions. Visit fearlessfinance.com today. You can chat with a planner for free to make sure it's a good fit, and you'll get $50 off your first planning meeting when you use the code PROGRESS. Again, go to fearlessfinance.com and use the code PROGRESS. My love of having cleaner indoor air must be something you all know about me by now, because one of my most common questions that comes in on my direct messages is, what's that air purifier again? Well, it's Air Doctor, the award-winning air purifier that eliminates 99.99% of dangerous contaminants like allergens, viruses, smoke, gases, mold spores, and more. Americans spend an average of 90% of their time indoors. But did you know that indoor air can be up to 100 times more polluted than outdoor air? We know it in the Packer household because one of our kids happens to have pretty bad indoor allergies, and our new doctor was relieved to hear that we already have an air purifier in our home. Unlike other purifiers, Air Doctor captures invisible particles 100 times smaller than standard HEPA filters, making the Packer household very happy customers. I recently burned something in my oven, and I was so happy to see that my Air Doctor kicked right into high gear automatically all on its own because it could sense that something was a little bit off in our main area. You can experience the joy of Air Doctor and breathe cleaner. Just head to airdoctorpro.com and use promo code MONICA to get up to $300 off today. Air Doctor comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee, plus a 3-year warranty, and $84 value free. Get this exclusive podcast-only offer now at airdoctorpro.com. That's AIRDOCTORPRO.com using promo code MONICA. I have a big, exciting announcement and personal invitation for you. Come to Rome with me. Is there anything better than being totally taken care of? For years, I've taught the importance of being on your own list. This is most often done in small and simple ways, but occasionally we choose to do something big and outside the norm to deeply prioritize ourselves. So what if you did that with me and in Rome, Italy? I am so overjoyed to announce that I am partnering with Female Foodie to host a tour to Rome in October of 2026. This trip will, of course, be full of great food and excellent accommodations, but most important to me, it's your opportunity to be deeply cared for. Your job is to get to Italy. Our job is everything else. Signups for the tour will be this fall, September 9th, to the waiting list only, with the general public getting access the next day if there are any spots left. If you're not familiar with Female Foodie tours, know that they sell out in literal minutes. Getting a tour exclusive to just the About Progress community is all kinds of special. You can get on the waiting list to ensure your best chance of reserving those extra limited spots before they sell out by going to aboutprogress.com/Italy. This tour must be booked with 2 or more guests at a time, so get a friend or 5 committed to come with you. And by the way, if you do have more than 2 coming, please reach out to me at hello@aboutprogress.com so we can assist you with that. I am so looking forward to doing something extra special and exploring the magic of Rome with you while adding my personal touch to the signature Female Foodie tour. Again, to get on the waiting list and first dibs to our limited spots, go to aboutprogress.com/Italy. The 5th life lesson I want to share with you is set a deadline to stop instead of quitting when you feel done with something. 2023 was a personal survival year with having our 5th child, but my business really tanked that year. In large part, that was almost a decision. I had to pump the brakes on many things I was doing in order to add this important member to our family. And in doing so, there was a big hit to my business financially. But then the numbers issue was a big thing that fall. And ads weren't getting booked like they should have been. And enrollment to my course, the Sticky Habit Method, wasn't going well. Things like that were just not happening. And I started January of that year realizing that I was on a sinking ship. And the amount of insecurity and despair and even resentment that came with me that entire year was extremely high. I didn't know if we were going to make it. But instead of quitting, because I felt like this is a sinking ship and it's not working and I'm done with this, even though I felt done, I decided to wait until December 31st of that year and to give it a full year of still putting one foot in front of the other so that I could ensure I was stopping instead of quitting. Now, clearly, it's well into 2025, so I didn't quit, but I'm glad I gave myself that deadline. One, so that I had that option. Two, so that I could lean into my work with less resentment. Three, so that I could also lead with more curiosity, both professionally and personally. I did a lot professionally to experiment, to try new things, to make some risks. A lot of them didn't pay out. But personally, I also started to explore what's next for me. I thought really seriously about going back to school to become a therapist or to get my master's in a couple different areas. And I was talking to people about that. I was finding out from my friends who are therapists more about what their training was like and where they could go, or the people who've done the master's program I was thinking of. And so I still have those in my back pocket. Obviously, things are going better than 2023 and 2024, but we're still not totally there. I'll give you a little update in the end. But for me, I am really glad that I gave myself a deadline to stop so that I could lean in, not in ways that were about hustling and clenching my fingers so tightly around this thing because it's who I am, but more because I knew I would regret more quitting than stopping when I knew it was time. And honestly, I'm still giving myself that permission so that I can continue to persist because I can stop. I can stop when I need and want to. The sixth life lesson is not everybody has to love you. In fact, if you want to do well, people will have to not like you. Have you ever taken a look at the reviews on Oprah's podcasts? A lot of people do not like her. I have a better rating than Oprah. And it's not because I know I'm better than Oprah. It's because she's at a level of influence and power and even fame where the critics arrive in tidal waves. They are there to try to tear her down at any moment. Now, I personally don't want that level of fame. I don't really want that, but I have had to learn the hard way that not only will not everybody like you, in order to do well with your work, people have to not like you. There were a couple times where I got some harsh reviews. One person in particular loved to keep coming back to that review and updating it, and I'm pretty sure I know who they are. What I did in the past is I took those so personally. I'm not going to say I'm impersonal to them. I'm not. This is something I actually need to work on, to be honest. It is still really hard for me to show up online because I have the inner critic voice pretty strong where I am pretty sure what people are going to say, to talk back, to critique what I say, to not like how I say something, or who I am. Of course, that's always in my head. But in the same moment, I have to own that in order for me to rise, I have to assume that not only will people not like me, people have to not like me for me to be doing a good job. There were some times with those bad reviews where I made full episodes about them. I wish I hadn't done that. I wish I had just let them go. So this is something, honestly, is still a total work in progress, which is actually all of these life lessons that I'm sharing with you, but people will have to not like you to be doing the job that you need to do. And the seventh and final life lesson I want to share with you is small wins do build over time. This is what I call the process with all the work I do online and as a coach. I tell this to my clients all the time. The way that we grow is small wins build over time. And that is the process. And you have to both believe in it and practice that process in order for it to work. This has been true for my business, and it's been one of the hardest ways for me to practice what I preach, is I have to believe that Even if there are so few listening to this work that I know I'm good at, doing it day after day, year after year is what has built me up to where I am now and what will build me up to where I need to be. Being almost 9 years into the podcast feels really monumental, and it's something I'm proud of. It also can be something I really despair over, because why am I not being interviewed by Mel Robbins? Why am I not Oprah? Why do I not have millions of dollars and like book deals galore and tons of money and people signing up for everything? And it's really easy to fall for that trap, especially in the online world when you do see people just suddenly growing overnight. Or, hey, I've been doing this business for a year and look at me, I have 4 million downloads. And you're like, why? Because you interviewed me for your podcast and you were terrible. Do you love how honest I'm being? But I have to keep going back to this truth. This is the way. This is the way I have changed personally within my marriage, within parenting, spiritually. It's also the way that I've been able to grow with my business. It's been the smallest of ways that have grown over time to where I am, and I have to trust and believe that that's what's going to take me to the next steps. And again, I don't need to be Oprah, but I would love a great book deal. Those were the 7 life lessons. I'll recap them really quick. Number 1, the more you know you don't know. Number 2, separate your identity from the outcomes, both good and bad. Number 3, savor the good times. Number 4, it's always day 1. Number 5, set a deadline to stop instead of quitting when you feel done. Number 6, not everybody has to love you. In fact, if you want to do well, people will have to not like you. And number 7, small wins build over time. Before I sign off, I want to give you a quick state of the podcast address. This is something I have done routinely here and there, maybe once a year, once every 2 years, I give you an update. That would probably take a great deal of time. So I will just say I did share a more personal state of the podcast address on my private premium podcast, More Personal, which is for the Bestie and Ride or Die members of the Supporters Club. But I'll tell you, we are doing better. We are doing better. I do not feel anywhere close to the stress and despair I felt like all of 2024. We are doing so much better, but we're also not doing great. Numbers are slowly inching their way back up to our downloads before that iOS update that Apple Podcast did. The ads have been, I'm really glad with who we've booked, especially lately. We've been able to pick up a couple more people, and I really love my ad network. But there was a while up until maybe May that we had only booked 4 sponsors for the entire year. And I have like 6 available spots per episode. And that was 4 for the entire year. So this is all to say we're doing better. Things are looking up. I think the book is going to help in many ways and is going to be such a great opportunity. And the Supporters Club has helped us be able to even get to this point. We are right now at 187 members. We honestly need to get to 250 in order for our basic costs to be covered without being dependent on ads or me doing all this other work on the side. And that doesn't even include paying myself. So we still have room to go. And that's why I want to invite you to, 1, just keep listening, 2, do the free things, share the show, follow us on YouTube, watch on YouTube if you like the video content, leave a rating and review, share the episodes with a friend. All those things help a tremendous amount. And if you have $2, $5, or $7 a month, join us in the Supporters Club at aboutprogress.com/support. And I do want to thank you for now 700 episodes worth of support, for being there for me, for listening, for encouraging me, for giving me constructive feedback. All of it has gotten us to this point. And right now, I don't see me going anywhere anytime soon. I hope in listening to my own life lessons, you're able to apply this to your life, and I would love to hear about how that's the case for you. Thank you so much for listening. Now go and do something with what you learned today.